The wild and wonderful winter we're having has blossomed into full-on havoc on prep sports in our area. But don't worry, we have some playoff action for you. Plus, we head down North Capitol Street to talk with the championship hoops team at Gonzaga. Don't worry, spring's just around the corner. It's High School Sports Final, and it's next.
From News Channel 8, this is High School Sports Final.
Welcome into this edition of High School Sports Final. I'm your host, Monica McNutt. As you know, we're in the middle of playoff basketball in high school, but there's already been some champs crowned in the area. So today we're at Gonzaga chatting with the reigning WCAC champs, the Gonzaga Eagles. Fellas, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so first of all, an incredible comeback in that championship game. Brian, going into the fourth quarter, what did Coach say, or what did one of the teammates say that kind of got that thing going?
We only had 8 minutes left, and it was our time to go get it and prove what we really wanted.
Sam, fourth quarter, 8 minutes left, but in the third quarter, you know, DeMatha came out swinging in the second half. How do you stay focused at that point?
I mean, that's been something we trying to do all year, is just stay focused when things aren't going well, and that's something we definitely improved a lot over the years, not being front runners, being able to play well when things aren't going our way, and we definitely showed it in that game.
Coach, you talked about it after the game when we chatted, all the emotions, all the sweat, you were just feeling it. This team fighting through adversity this season, would that game kind of embody the season at all in a nutshell?
Definitely. I mean, we felt like throughout the year we lost some tough ones. At the end of the game, when it mattered the most, we had a couple turnovers that went the other way, playing against national competition. And one of the things I did say to them at that point in the game was that we've been here. We know what we have to do to be able to be successful and be able to win. And I think the thing that I noticed most was that not one kid hung his head when we were down 13. And I felt at that point we still had an opportunity to win.
I think, Sam, when you hit a three in the second overtime, I was like, okay, like this is, you know, Gonzaga is in good shape. When you saw your teammates getting involved, Brian, I know you were integral in the run too. At any point, was it like, it's ours now, there's no turning back?
Yeah, I definitely knew it was ours after a couple big threes. It felt like we weren't even missing at a certain point in the game, so I was confident in my team and just knew we was going to gut it out.
All of you guys were into it emotionally, but Sam, I'm not going to ask you, Brian. I saw this guy in particular in terms of being a little bit more hype maybe. Could you describe your teammate to the folks watching?
That's been him all year. He loves getting hyped in those big moments when just feeling the emotion and it's awesome.
Coach, two seniors, obviously a huge part of this year's squad. Just their leadership and watching them grow as players, what has that been like?
It's been great. I mean, as I feel like they're like my sons. You feel like a proud dad. No different than my own two boys. That's how I treat them. There's days I kick them in the butt. There's days I hug them and I love them. But for them, two in particular, we have a spiritual retreat, and it's called Kairos. And I had to convince both of these guys to go. And people don't realize, I think that's why we won the championship. I think there was a lot of change from both of them when they got back from that retreat. And I really saw them become bigger and better leaders for this team. And down the stretch, it really showed. I mean, you saw his emotions. He's not a guy that's going to let things wear right in front of everybody. To have him in that picture in that moment, seeing him cry, he wanted this bad. And he's a guy for 4 years that I think has taken on a lot of scrutiny by a lot of the people in the basketball community. And he wasn't going to let his team down. And I think because of his drive, it brought this whole team together. And everybody wanted to do it for each other, which is what we preached all year.
Now, I'm curious, guys. Coach brought it up in my WCAC days. I remember Kairos too. And it's not like this woo-woo experience. But what happened, you know, that Coach is kind of talking about that kind of maybe helped something click going into your senior year?
Well, you realize that the stuff that you actually have in your life is actually valuable to you, and if you lose those things, you'll definitely be hurt by it and things like that. So I just learned to be more appreciative of things that's in my life. And then right after we got back from Kairos, we lost one of our brothers in a car accident. So that just, all that combined just like made me realize I should appreciate what I got now, because I could be gone tomorrow.
All right, y'all, as we wrap this thing up, I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think. You had an incredible season. If you had to sum it up in 2 words, or maybe a word that reflects the basketball part of it and maybe a word that reflects your relationships with your teammates or your coaches this year. If you had to just give it 2, what might they be?
I would probably just say bouncing back. Like, you know, it's times where it might be tough on the court, or you might have something that an issue you had with a teammate, but we always recovered. We always came back strong and did our thing. So yeah.
Coach, you got your word?
Family and together.
Why?
Together is something I break every huddle with, and it's about us being one, not being individuals, but being one solid rock. And family, just because of the spirit that's embodied here at Gonzaga.
All right, Brian, you ready?
Yeah. I say dream chasers, because, I mean, it's coming to Gonzaga, all of us, this would be all of our goals, to win a championship for Gonzaga, and we chased that dream and won it this year.
Outstanding. Well, thanks, guys. That's all for here and now, but we'll go back to the studio. Robert Burton has tons of highlights because the playoffs have to go on, right? And then we're joined by a panel of experts that have been covering high school ball all season long. We'll talk about some of the best moments, some of the best players, and their projections in the Maryland State Tournament. Stick around.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Robert Burton here with more highlights. Let's get to the playoffs in Maryland. Playoff games have enough spirit, but you add that to a rivalry game, and it's pandemonium inside a gym in Bethesda this week. Whitman and Bethesda Chevy Chase, the two schools don't exactly get along. To boot, BCC comes into the game, having already beat Whitman twice this year. Could the third time be the charm for Whitman? And that gets us to our game of the week. Let's get to it. The Battle of Bethesda, BCC hosting Whitman. Look at the handshake there. Kevin Holston comes out and does that, the spinning circus shot, and it's good. And the crowd certainly loves it. And the Barons turning up the D. Livio Caputo snags the pass and speeds to the basket, lays it in, gets the easy bucket on the other end, but it's a rivalry, so Whitman answers. Riley Shaver hits the three, and he gets fouled. 4-point play. And it's back and forth. Senior guard Justin Carter the steal and beats the defense for the lay-in. And then junior Shaq Dabadi, Loeb, hits a deep three. That's NBA range right there. More from Loeb. Seconds to go in the third. Pulls up for three, beats the buzzer. And that has the Viking bench and crowd fired up. Whitman with a 1-point lead going into the fourth quarter. But too much BCC on the break. Holston, the oop to Tahaji Byers. And he's pumped after that, of course. More Byers. He gets a nice feed from Caputo for the jam. Bethesda Chevy Chase holds on to beat their rival Whitman 55-47, moving on to the 4A playoffs. Okay, the girls' version, this one at Whitman. Senior Allison Puffy introduced right here. The Vikings on the break. Nicole Fleck down the sideline, cross court to Marie Hatch, who drives and gets the layup. Then off the inbounds. Check out Abby Myers with the pull-up J right here. And it's good, looking like Kevin Durant. The Barons a little careless with the ball, though. Hannah Niles gets the steal right here. And she wins the race to the basket for the easy layup. But BCC responds right away. Check out the push ahead. Alexis Hopkins, the long pass to Samantha Howell for the lay-in, but it wasn't enough as the top-ranked Vikings advanced 45-30. Seneca Valley, after only winning one game over the past 2 seasons, the Screaming Eagles surprised some in the county, posting a 14-8 record and making the playoffs. This week they faced an Einstein team, which they already beat twice this season. Could Seneca Valley have more in their shock tank? Nice. The Titans cheerleaders getting everyone hype. Seneca Valley, check out the pass. Quentin Twyman, good patience, gets the basket. Einstein responds. Raheem Hayes drives baseline, kicks it out. Tamika Rames for three, and he rains it. It's good. There's that connection again. Dwan Smith underneath to Twyman. Gets the easy bucket. Eagles again. Tristan Price pushing the rock ahead to Twyman, and this dude was pretty much a beast all night. Silicon Valley just kept the pressure on the Titans. Price again on the break. This time he takes it himself, and Seneca scores the upset, 65-55. They move on to play the winner of our next game, which is the Wheaton Knights playing against Damascus. All right, check out the ball movement here from the Knights. David Adelakay inside to Kerry Brown. Good bang, the scoop shot and the foul. Everyone likes that. Back to Brown, drives baseline, hits the floater. The swarming Hornets, keeping it close though. Ben Michael, a couple of fakes, goes up and he gets the friendly bounce. And it looked like the Knights funneled the offense through Brown. The pass to Adelakay for the jumper. Smack. Damascus right back though. Check out this bounce pass. Fundamentals kids to Austin Larson for the tough layup. Larson would get back on defense. It was just Wheaton's night. They turn over, then come right back and get the steal. And after a couple of missed shots, Stephen Moore puts it back in. There it is. That's still right there. And then after a couple of missed shots, they will put it back in. Wheaton moves on. Let's just say that. The final for this one, 58-50 over Damascus. All right, paint bench taking on top seed Springbrook. The Blue Devils using some size early. Falou Sek with the dish to Aaron Burton, no relation, for the easy bucket. Sek was really sick with the ball. Look at this little scoop shot right here. Paint bench Panthers had some fight though. Thaylor Remy with the block. Hello, Dikembe Mutombo. All right, but Springbrook is 20-3 for a reason. Sek to the corner for Vincent Brown for 3, and it's good. More Blue Devils, though. Donovan Walker to a cutting E.J. Dyson. Cut E.J., cut E.J., cut E.J. There he is. Gets the bucket. Springbrook advances, beating Paint Branch 77-42. They'll move on to play Sherwood in the 4A North semifinal. All right, time in the show to put a spotlight on the best and brightest athletes in our area. Our athlete of the week brought to you by iTility. Our athlete this week led his team to an MSHL championship. Ross Allen helped the top-ranked ice hockey team in the area to their 3rd league title in the last 5 years. Allen had 3 goals and 2 assists in the 10-0 thrashing of Marriott's Ridge last week. The Cornell-bound senior also won the league's annual Von LeBray Award for excellence on the ice, in the classroom, and in the community. So congratulations to Ross Allen, our iTility athlete of the week. All right, more to come on High School Sports Finals, scanning the area and the highlights from the show, keeping tabs on the best plays. We'll have our plays of the week later. And this week, Monica got with a couple of analysts to talk playoff. Check out what teams could be sleepers in the postseason.
Welcome back into High School Sports Final Playoffs. They're underway. They're going on. We've already crowned some champs. Right now, we've got a panel joining us to discuss some of the teams heading into their state championships and some of the teams that have already won. Mark Stern of Capital Hoops joins us, and Adam Goodykins of the Gazette. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's jump right to it. This week, we're dealing with Maryland State Championship. I got to know, who are your favorites?
I think in the 4A, I mean, PG County seems to be the team that brings home the championship every year. I mean, I think Roosevelt, possibly. Montgomery County's got a couple good ones, too. I think Gaithersburg or Magruder could turn some heads as well.
All right, Adam, what you got?
We were talking about in the green room, you know, of the last 15 years, 14 of the champions have been from either of those 2 counties. I agree with Mark. In PG, I think Roosevelt's probably the favorite with their pedigree, and they have a lot of pretty versatile guards. But really, 4 or 5 teams could win it there. Montgomery County, I was trying to decide all year between Magruder and Richard Montgomery. And I think I would lean with Richard Montgomery now. Magruder doesn't have their point guard anymore, but it's almost just as open as PG.
I think also this year there's not as many like real heavyweights in the 4A.
Yeah.
In the past, you know, the North Points and the Roosevelts, who have been the really, really good Roosevelts. I think it's wide open, and there's, I mean, I could see any of 8 or 10 teams possibly winning it.
With it being so wide open this season, I mean, has the season kind of reflected that in terms of teams being upset, or has Roosevelt kind of, you know, been pretty steady?
Roosevelt's been in the 4A, especially in PG County. Everybody's beaten everybody. Duval for a long time was, you know, kind of run through the 4A, and then I think they went on a 5 or 6 game losing streak. Of the teams in PG County, Roosevelt's really been the only constant. They almost went undefeated within their league, and they got upset by Parkdale at the end of the season.
Adam, those were your favorites that you just saw on the screen. We'll get to Mark's favorites in a second. All right, so we got favorites. Consensus is Roosevelt and Magruder. Did you tell me Magruder?
Magruder, Richard Montgomery in Montgomery County.
Got you. So then dark horses. You got to ask, I mean, the team that's going to be like, oh, they pulled off that win.
I think possibly BCC. They're a 2 seed in their section. Could possibly make some noise. They've got a real good guard, Justin Carter, that does a lot of things. You know, they're kind of what come to mind right now.
Gotcha. Adam?
I agree with BCC. I think, you know, RM is going to be the favorite, but I think even a team like Gaithersburg, they are a 2 seed, but they haven't beaten some of those top teams. But in PG County, I was telling you about, you know, Parkdale got off to a rough start of the season. They had a point guard, Greg Boyd, who came in from Roosevelt, and then in the middle of the season, they got 2 players, Kane Wilson, who went to Potomac at the beginning of this year, but had played the 3 previous years at Parkdale. And then Joseph Adedeo, he came in from Theodore Roosevelt's city championship team last year. They've kind of provided a spark. They're, I think, on a 7-game winning streak, and they beat Roosevelt at Roosevelt, which is not, you don't see very often.
Oh, man, good stuff. All right, so we're, of course, projecting a little bit there, but last week we had an incredible championship game, and we had a pretty good county contest as well. Mark, I know you were at the Gonzaga-DeMatha game. What did you think of that one?
One of the best games, given the magnitude of the game. I mean, one of the best games I've seen in recent memory.
In case you missed it, folks, double overtime in that one. Quite the thriller. What do you think kind of separated Gonzaga down the stretch?
You know, they had a 4th quarter run where they really steal some momentum. Freshman for Gonzaga, Prentice Hub, had 9 points in about a 45-second span. Yep. And there was one particular play where Gonzaga, I think you highlighted it in your last show, had 7 offensive rebounds on one play. And you know, you just saw the fight in them, and then they hit crucial shots in double overtime, and a lot of them, and it was just too much for DeMatha.
Outstanding. All right, so that was the WCAC championship. Adam, we bumped into each other at the county championship, which wasn't a bad game, although Largo,
We thought, I talked to some of the other people that were going to be there too, we thought that would be, you know, a relatively close game, but the big question going into that was how was Roosevelt going to stop Abdullah Bundu, the Largo big man who's going to Quinnipiac next year. And I had thought going in that the length of Roosevelt's guards was going to give him trouble because everyone approaches him the same way. Try and front him and then bring down the weak side guard. And that Roosevelt, that and their depth, they had about 9 guys that can go. They really frustrated him. And 15 points doesn't sound like a bad game, but when you're averaging 30 points a game, they did a pretty good job limiting him and showed just how, you know, versatile they are.
Speaking of Largo, though, do you expect Largo to make some noise in the States?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think you're not going to see a lot of teams like Roosevelt that have that depth. I think that, you know, they'll have another tough run when they get into Douglas, but Douglas just hasn't been able to stop him specifically in that team this year. But you know, I know Mark was talking about a potential matchup with Oakland Mills. That could be really a clash of 2 of the heavyweights.
Mark, another one you were at last week. That we got to give our DC team some love. Every time I bump into a DC coach, they're like, "You never give us any love." We're giving you your love here now. The Woodson final for the DCIAA. Talk about that one a little bit, Mark. Yeah,
DCIAA championship. Woodson and Coolidge was a great game. Coolidge led the entire game. Late in the game, head coach Trey Mines for Woodson pulled out Antoine Walker, DCIAA Player of the Year, with about 4 minutes left. He had been completely ineffective in the game up until that point. Put in what he called his all-dogs team, his defensive team, his scrappy team. They go on a huge run, and they win the DCIAA championship after not leading the entire game. And as a coach, I asked him after the game, you know, how tough of a decision was it to take out the Conference Player of the Year? And, you know, he said as a coach, you got to make tough decisions sometimes. So.
All right, guys, if I'm holding a gun to your head and you have a choice to make your state champion in Maryland, the 4A, who is it? Quick, we're running out of time. Whoa, okay.
I'd probably say Roosevelt.
You got time to give me 1 and 3A?
3A.
Milford Mill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Milford Mill? We got 2 Milford Mills.
Yeah.
All right, Gaithersburg getting some love. Roosevelt, you got some love. Milford Mill getting some love. All right, thanks, guys, for joining us. Still more as we wrap up this edition of High School Sports Final. High School Sports Final, y'all know the show's name. Dunks, dives, goals, blocks, all that. Robert will be back with your plays of the week right after the break.
And remember, you can go to our Facebook page at High School Sports Final to select your choice for the play of the week. Let's go to BCC. On the break, Kevin Holston, the alley-oop to Jai Byers. He's pumped. BCC beats Whitman. And then more at BCC, Kevin Holston comes out and does that. It's the spinning circus shot again. And the crowd certainly loves that one. Those are a couple of plays of the week. And so Prince George's County playoff action, Laurel rolling over to Parkdale, and the Panthers had everything going for them this night. Nalai Jones with the shot, and it's no good, but when you have size, it would be to your advantage to use it. Alyssa Johnson with the putback. Parkdale wins this game 50-23 and advances to play Duval in the 4A South semifinal. That's all for this edition of High School Sports Final. For all the cast and crew behind the scenes to bring you all the highlights, we thank them. And Monica McNutt. I'm Robert Burton. See you again next week.